only wants you to make good beer and have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. Busy day in the brewery. On the right is my annual cider that I just picked up today. On the left is my 2 gallons of this hemp pale ale that's about done. But what we're doing today is something I guess I've not done a video on, but it is a robust porter. Now, I first made it in 2014, and it's something that I came up with. I called it a copy, sort of a copy of Founder's Porter based on some stuff that I found on the internet. And apparently I like this Summit glass. It comes out to be about 1070 to 1074. These are the malts. Actually, this one says pills. I would have had pale. I do have the pale this time. 1.25 chocolate, 1.5 Munich, 8 ounce care pills, 8 ounce medium crystal, 8 ounce black malt, some hops, nugget, Willamette, and Hallertau. And then this was 1056. I have, I believe, Imperial Darkness today. Yes, that is correct. I will be making a starter with my extract and my stir plate. And I have 14 and 1/4 pounds of grain. So it's gonna be a decent amount in here, but nothing that this mash tun can't handle. I typically just make about 1 dark-ish beer with some of these roasted grains in the fall. I saw one of these ones I made in August, so I was drinking in September. That was this picture. I was like, how come everything is still green and everything? But yes, it's November 6th, so I'm definitely behind that schedule, but I still did want to get 1 dark beer on tap for the winter. And then I'm going to continue on this lager thing. Interesting. I could do the pressurized fermenting lagers, but I could bring them upstairs and do them warmer and they'd be done faster. Otherwise I could just do them at normal temps. But that's not what we're doing today. I just do like this recipe. It'll be the 3rd time I've made this exact recipe going back 2014, 2016. Now it's been 6 years since I made it because I've been making some tropical stout. I made a brown porter, so I've been doing some different kinds of things. But we're gonna get this baby in the mash tun, see how it goes. My first Sierra Nevada celebration ale of the year, November 6th. Always love it. So it's funny, when I was looking at the mash, I thought, man, is this thing gonna be dark? Like, it just couldn't really tell. But of course, I mean, it's going to be, and it smells nice and roasty. And so, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, that's about what you want. Alright, here's the yeast starter. It had a nice bit of foam last night, and which was good to see. I don't know if you were following along. I've had 1 or 2 batches in recent times where the yeast is not that great. It's a little bit older, or I don't know, something is up with it, and I feel like, oh, it's gonna work anyway, and I make a starter and then I don't see good starter activity, and it's just annoying, and I don't know why I do that. So use healthy yeast, people. And so there goes 0.75 ounce, 21 grams of Willamette and German Hallertau. I don't know why I came up with 0.75. at this time at 30 minutes, and then 0.25 at the end, but that's what I did. We have had some nice, not nice, we've had some gray, wet-ish days, but now we have a nice sunny day, and it's gonna dry up, and I think it's gonna get up to 50 today, which is not bad for November 7th, so there you go. Okay, we're about to pitch this yeast. There is the wort sample. Looks like it's going to be in the 1060s. I'll get a definitive look. I've made this beer before and it was 1074 and 1070. Always kind of interesting when you don't get the same result doing the same process. I know the extract yield can vary from year to year, but also depends on how much volume you end up with. I did end up with a little over 5 gallons today, so that will decrease the gravity a little bit if you do that. But I am hopeful for this beer. No matter what the original gravity is, this yeast will be sufficient, and we'll get it all buttoned up, and hopefully later today we might have some activity. This is how I like my fermentations to get going. It's about 10 hours after pitching, so none of this waiting 1 or 2 days. And so the battery died, not like it was anything too revelatory, but it was fun to see the thing going, and now it's the next morning, and I thought I would just do a quick check. I'm sure it's going just fine. Oh, baby. You know, I had considered, usually for ales, I do them in a carboy with a blow-off tube, because you can get a lot of krausen, but I figured it's going to be colder, so it should be okay. Looks like it's about 62. Hopefully, that's probably the lower end of this range, and I do end up with a little bit of higher final gravities on these robust porters than I get for most beers, probably because of all the highly kiln malts, so I could pull it out of this closet, which is colder than like the rest of my basement. Yeah, it's not even 60 down here. So maybe I'll just pull it out into the other room where it'll go up a couple degrees. Alright, good people. Here is the robust porter. It does have a light tan head, I would say, and that'll be something we will get to in a minute. As for the final details,
I'm gonna get super nerdy and see. You cannot see light through it, or at least an intense Christmas tree light.
It got up to 1066 on brew day and down to 1014 for a final gravity. Now, if I compare that to my previous 2 times of making this exact same recipe, it was 4 and 8 points lower than the 2 previous OGs, but it was 4 points lower on the final gravity, which was 1018 before, and it was 1014. This beer is now 1 month and 10 days old from brew day, and about a month from kegging day. And it's just been sitting around. I've been figuring that it would mellow a little bit, as I was thinking of that, what was that big imperial stout that we made for in the wake of the riots?
Oh, Black is Beautiful.
Black is Beautiful. That thing was like, woo! And this isn't that type of beer, but like that thing really changed for the better with a little bit of time. So I was giving this a little bit of time. Yours did?
Didn't last that long, but it was conviced. We all agreed, not the point, but
yeah,
it was good, quicker.
So, what do we get from this beer? I've been trying to warm it up because this one does have all these roasted grains. I'm pretty sure I went over the grain bill previously.
Yeah, before we rolled, I talked about how I thought it was firmly bitter and firmly roasty, and then I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but you kind of said
We
that
will.
these things can be bordering on slightly burnt, and I'm like, that usually sounds like an insult, so I didn't want to say it, but that is definitely,
No.
this is like some seared sugar, seared malt, almost like to where you cook the sugar out of a malt, which black malt is, and chocolate malt is to an extent. These are malts that have had the sugars cooked out of them, you know.
So I feel like I was also saying, because I made this 2 other times, I feel like I like those other ones more, but I may like them more just because of the slightly higher FG, and I like, it still would carry through this strong flavor, but have a little bit more of a residual sweetness. But according to BJCP, and I don't know if this is a current category, but it's still out there somewhere, the Robust Porter, roasty aroma, often with a lightly burnt black malt character, should be noticeable and maybe moderately strong. And that's just the aroma, but then if you go down to the flavor, moderately strong malt flavor usually features a lightly burnt black malt character and sometimes chocolate and or coffee flavors with a bit of a roasty dryness in the finish. Overall flavor may finish from dry to medium sweet depending on grist composition, hop ring level, and attenuation. So
This is definitely on the dry.
yeah, finish
from that dry to medium.
from
sweet
dry. So it's not saying like, oh, this will be a luxurious, rich beer to
No.
have a decadent bath in. It's
No.
not going to be that beer. And I was,
It seems like a pub kind of ale to me, like something you would drink over amount of time. It would warm up. You might have some snacks.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of a brown porter, which has a really strong flavor from the brown malt, which is a really unique character. It's obviously not a brown porter. It has all these darker grains and no brown malt. But
I think it's some of the more popular. Is that a Christmas tree? I think it's some of the more popular, you know, nationally available porters that are out there. I'm thinking side by side, this would definitely lean drier, more bitter, less round and kind of chocolatey, and more coffee burnt. I like it because we've been drinking a lot of I've been drinking a lot of big
Swedish,
alcoholic beers,
boozier
like
ones.
cinnamony spiced beers for 12 beers of Christmas. So I kind of like, oh, there's a beer.
So a couple of, well, one example that listed in the BJCP thing was the Edmund Fitzgerald porter by Great Lakes, and the recipe that I made was an attempt to imitate Founder's porter, which was not in the list of commercial examples, but I think it's got to be close. And so accidentally, this 2022 Robust Porter is probably closer to a 2-style Robust Porter, which actually speaks to the recipe. One thing I didn't get into is the range of gravity was like 1040 something to 1065, whereas my previous ones have been 1070, 1074. This one's 1066, so it's closer.
You're making them extra robust.
I guess. Robustier? But yeah.
XRP.
But I wanted this, so I've made these lagers. I've got 2 more pressure fermented lagers already in progress, but I did want to get an annual dark beer.
Yeah.
I made the tropical stout, I made imperial stout, I made robust porter. These are, I just pick one and make one, basically like one a year. I may make an India Black Lager, but that's kind of like a different animal. So yeah, it's maybe not a super duper common style, but yeah, the more you drink it and the more it warms up, it does finish with kind of like a dryness and kind of a burnt character from maybe the chocolate and also maybe the black malt.
Yeah, I appreciate it, especially that level of bitterness in there as well. It's like doing 2 things, kind of like black IPA, where it's like roasty, but also citrusy or piney, whatever the hops are doing. You get the hop impact in this, but it only accentuates the dryness and that roasty.
And it's subdued to a degree. It's not a black IPA. I mean,
No.
you could hop this up,
Right.
but then you might be fighting more with what you're trying to do. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to do a video on this because it's a style that I like, and like I said, this is the 3rd time I made this recipe, so it's one that sticks in my mind as, oh, maybe I should go back to the Robust Porter. And it's been, I think, 6 years since I made it, because then I got on a tropical stout deal, and I made that a couple times. So I guess that'll do it for now.
It's always funny. I don't brew anything. I could probably think of it if I tried hard enough, but I rarely brew anything a second, let alone a third time. So
Oh, I do
so
that.
it's funny when you have that in your
Well, I mean,
wheelhouse.
when you brew for 20 years, if you like to make like a German Pils once
true.
a year, or a Helles, or a wit beer, you know, like
Yeah.
they just kind of cycle through. Anyway, what kind of porters do you like to make? And do you like? I mean, it's cold around here. It's Christmas time, and so you know, I think of getting a dark beer going this time of year. But I think that'll do it for now. As usual, thanks for watching. Catch you later.